I want to give you a sense of the wide variety of video effects that you'll find inside Premiere Pro. And to do that in this lesson, I'm going to give you a sampling from most of the video effect categories. If you want to follow along, feel free, go to Working Files, Projects, 0902, Trying Effects. There you go. This project consists of one sequence with two video clips, Scenic 6 and Scenic 8, and then something called an adjustment layer. An adjustment layer is a transparent clip on which you can apply video effects, and then those video effects show up on whatever clips are visible below it inside a sequence. I'll explain more about adjustment layers later in the course. Now, right now, all you can see is Scenic 6. That's because it's the clip on top. It's covering up what's below it here in the sequence. But sometimes when I apply effects to Scenic 6, you'll see what's below it. Now, what's below it is that Matterhorn shot. There you go, that shot right there. But I'm covering it up with Scenic 6. When you want to work with effects, generally you make a clip active, and then you can see what effects are applied to it or apply effects to it that way. So this clip is now active, it's selected, and it shows up inside the Effect Controls panel. And there are those three fixed effects. Let's just take a look at those briefly, starting with Motion. I open up Motion's disclosure triangle, and there are its properties. If I click on the word Motion, then I can move this guy around like that. So you can see the clip below it. There you go. I can change its scale like so. If I change the scale setting to non-uniform scale, I can drag its width or height independently. Click it back here. I can rotate it. There we go. And I can change the center point on which it rotates. That's called the anchor point right there. I can change its position like that, for example, and have it rotate in a different location instead of from the center. I can rotate from off to the side like this. Also, when I scale it, it scales on that point, like so. Let me just click reset here. We're going to deal with motion many, many times in upcoming lessons. Another fixed effect is opacity. I'll open up that one, and I'll close motion. Opacity has just one property. That's the opacity setting. If I reduce opacity, you begin to see the clip below it, like so. You'll use this often as well. It kind of looks like a cross dissolve, right? Put it back to 100%. It also has something called a blending mode. If you've worked with Photoshop, you'll know about a blending mode. It basically combines two clips together, this one and the one below it, using some mathematical calculations depending on which one of the blending modes you select. If I click multiply, you'll see that it gets this kind of darker look. If I pick screen, for example, then it makes things lighter. All kinds of blending modes here. I'll go back to normal. Time remapping changes the speed of the clip, like slow motion and fast motion. We're going to save this for discussions later. So those are the three fixed effects. Let's go down to the standard effects. I'm going to go right to the effects tab and start working my way through the standard video effects. There are all kinds of categories here. I'm going to show you examples from most of those categories, starting off with adjust. Adjust has a bunch of things that affect things like contrast and brightness, luminance basically. Most of these are kind of legacy effects, effects that have been around a long time and really don't work all that well. You want to use other effects in here when you want to do color correction or luminance correction. I'm going to talk about that in great detail in the color correction chapter. But there's one here that's kind of interesting. It's called lighting effects. If you apply that by dragging it over to this clip, it actually throws a light on it. There are 5 lights that you can put on a clip. If you click on this, you begin to see the light. You can move it around like so and change its characteristics, its color, what kind of light it is, things like that. You can have up to 5 different lights. And remember, you can move these guys around. You can animate all of these effects. Let me get rid of lighting effects for now. I'm going to go down a little bit farther here to blur and sharpen. All kinds of blurring and sharpening effects, but the go-to effect here is the Gaussian blur. It's kind of the standard blurring effect. I'll drag it over here, and nothing will happen. It just arrives in neutral. But then if you change it like that, you can make things blurry or not. And notice the edges there don't get blurry. You can turn on repeat edge pixels, and that makes it blurry right to the edge like that. There you go. And again, you can keyframe this. You can start sharp, get blurry, or start blurry and get sharp as you go forward into the clip. Get rid of Gaussian blur here by just selecting it and pressing delete. Let's move on down to channel. Channel effects deal with individual color channels, red, green, and blue, for example. So I click on arithmetic, drag that over to this clip. I go over here, it says red value, green value, blue value, etc. If I just start changing these guys, you'll begin to see what you can do in terms of the color with a clip. And again, these are keyframeable. You can make them change over time. So you can get some really wild looking colors. It's kind of fun to play with this guy. And they change the operator here to and, for example. That'll change the whole way it looks, or subtract. There you go. Let's go to difference, things like that. Different ways to work with it. Let me get rid of that by selecting it, pressing delete. Scrolling down a little farther to color correction. Color correction is all kinds of effects that work with luminance and color. And the granddaddy of all of them is the three-way color corrector. And it's been updated a little bit for CS6. Let me drag this one over here and on top of Scenic 6. It has all kinds of features, including these three color wheels that allow you to change color specifically in certain areas of the clip, in the shadows, in the midtones, and the highlights, if you want to do that. You can define which areas are shadows, highlights, and midtones using this tonal range definition control down here. There's something here called the secondary color correction. If you open that up, you can select an area of the clip on which you want to do color correction and not do it on other parts of the clip. So for example, if I click on this little eyedropper, I can say I want to work only on the sky. I take a look at the mask here as I work on this. I'll add some more sky to that selection. There we go. Add some more sky. And as I add more sky, then just the sky will be what I work on. So if I go up here, for example, turn off the mask so I can see what I'm doing, I can affect just the sky if I want to change the color. I'll just change it to something besides blue, for example. Begin to shift it towards orange like that. See how that's working there? There we go. So you can affect just an area within the clip based upon things like the hue or brightness, stuff like that. So I'll just delete the three-way color corrector now. Moving on down the line here. Take a look at distort. All kinds of effects that make things look odd. I'm going to go down here to twirl. I twirl to this clip. Nothing happens when you apply it. It's sort of sitting there in neutral waiting for you to do something. Open up the angle here and it'll just change how that looks. Now you're beginning to see stuff here, right? There we go. And if I want to make it wider, you begin to see the clip below it there. See that? I'll delete that. Do wave warp. Wave warp is one of the few effects that actually animates all by itself. Put it on there a little bit. See how it shows up already? Make the wave height even bigger. And then just play. You can do all kinds of stuff with wave warp. Turn that one off. Go down a little bit farther here to generate. Generate basically destroys the clip. If I apply generate to this clip down here, Scenic 6 again, it's going to just change it into something else, like a 4-color gradient. It's gone. So generally you don't want to apply a generate effect to a clip that you want to hang on to. So I'm going to undo that by pressing Control or Command Z. And instead I'm going to put it on my adjustment layer. I can destroy my adjustment layer without destroying this clip below it. So there we go. We don't mind doing that to the adjustment layer. And if I do something like change the blending mode to, let's say, multiply again, then we begin to see the clip below it. Pretty wild. Then you can change all those colors on the fly. These are all keyframeable colors and keyframeable locations where those colors reside. There are all kinds of generate effects. It's kind of fun to play with this one. I'm going to drag cell pattern over there. In terms of this, and you can change the way the cell pattern looks. It basically supersedes the one that was there before. We still have 4-color gradient there, but now that one's been sort of obliterated by the cell pattern. Let me click on that. We'll go to cell pattern. You can change the kinds of patterns that show up there and have all kinds of fun with cell pattern. Turn that one off there. Scrolling down here a little bit. There's an effect called lightning. Lightning is the effect that has the most properties of all effects that I'm aware of. If I drag that one over to the adjustment layer, take a look at it. These are the properties for lightning. I'll just scroll down here. Every one of those properties will control how the lightning displays inside the screen. If I just play this for a little bit, you begin to see this lightning flashing there. But you can affect everything about lightning, and those are all the various properties of lightning. And all those guys are animatable, meaning you can keyframe them over time and have them change. Change the location of the lightning, the color, the width, the number of strokes, all kinds of stuff. Lightning is one of those effects that can keep you up late at night while you play with it. Keep on going down to image control. This is kind of like a color correction collection of effects. So we're going to take a pass on this because some of these guys are basically replaced by the 3-way color corrector and other ones in the color correction section. Keying effects generally make something in a clip transparent, usually color, but can also be bright areas or dark areas. The big keying effect here is called the Ultra key. I'll drag that over here. What the Ultra key does is it lets you select the color, then to key it out to make it transparent. So I'm going to select this blue sky. And now look at that. It begins to key out. It makes the blue transparent. And then you begin to see the clip below it, that Matterhorn clip down below it. That's what Ultra key does. There are all kinds of things you can do with Ultra key in terms of fine-tuning this, but you can see how it works. It makes that blue sky transparent, and it's a really high-quality keying effect. So here we are in noise and grain, and you see dust and scratches. And does that mean you're adding dust and scratches to a clip? Well, no, you're trying to remove them with dust and scratches. That's what that is. Let's put on noise, though. Noise does add noise. Click on that. Watch this clip here. We're going to change the amount of noise like so. There we go. Get rid of that. Perspective is a group of effects that work kind of like motion, but you have more possibilities here. Basic 3D on this one allows me to turn it around a little bit. So I'll click on this guy. I'm going to swivel it like so. And I can have a highlight on it, a specular highlight. If I click on this, then I can have a little highlight as we go by there. Kind of cool, like it reflects off there. There you go. We can also tilt it while we're at it if we want to. And we can make it look like it's farther away or up close. All kinds of things you can do in simulating 3D space here inside Premiere Pro. Get rid of basic 3D. A couple other guys here do something similar. Let's scroll on down to Stylize. Stylize changes the appearance of the clip in numerous ways. Let's just try Emboss. I'll drag that over here. And this is what it does to the clip. It gives it that kind of 3D feel, and you can change the relief level, make it even thicker like that if you'd like. Change the direction the light falls on it. Again, all these guys can be animated over time. Remove Emboss. And now I want to do just one more effect. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. We're going to skip a few categories here. Time and utility and video are effects that have minimal utility. Transform, if I open that up, it looks a lot like the kind of stuff that you'll find over here in perspective with a few other odds and ends. They really could be put together, I think. Like camera view, for example, is very much like basic 3D. Let me scroll on down here to transition. Now, it may seem kind of odd to have transitions inside video effects since you have a video transitions category, but you have a little bit more control when you use these transitions as an effect. For example, let's try linear wipe. I'll just bring it over here by double-clicking on it. So now with the linear wipe, I can control how it works like this. And the angle, have a very specific angle, and I can feather the edge, make it kind of a soft edge. And if I want to simulate that border that you can find inside the transitions, I can actually put a graphic there and have the graphic move along with it separately from the linear wipe. This gives you a little bit more flexibility than the actual linear wipe inside the transitions. So that's just a sampling of some of the effects you'll find inside Premiere Pro. I'm going to take a look at some of these effects in much greater detail in the upcoming chapters.